Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the September 3rd, 2020 meeting of the Canal Recreation and Park District Board of Directors. And I've asked Brian to lead us in the flag salute. Brian?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Brian. Aline, roll call, please. Here. Okay, we do have a quorum, and Director Nichols is out of town, so Director Cusworth is probably around the corner. Okay, this evening we're going to have a couple presentations, and we're going to kick it off with a special presentation on Right On by Brian McQueenie. Take it. No.
Thank you. That's one small thing. I did want to come by tonight and say hi. This is our 19th, I guess. So we started talking to the Park District in 2000, 20 years ago. And I think we actually began our first year of operation in May of 2001. So we're coming up on 20 years of service. Wow. And it feels good. It feels good to be back here. It was wonderful to see all of you. I think as we kind of approach that 20-year benchmark, we are opening a new chapter in our relationship. I think we're looking at deepening and strengthening our relationship, operating on new levels with the programming staff and offering services. And I think all that is super exciting. So that is one aspect of it. Obviously, the other aspect of it is that we are in a new environment. Right On, as every nonprofit partner that you guys operate with, as you yourselves, as the entire American economy are feeling the effects of COVID. Right On is no exception. That has been an enormous shock to our system. We shut down our lesson operations on March 12th, actually a week before the stay-at-home order went into effect. And we reopened at a very small scale. We're serving now approximately, I'd say, 15% of our prior riders. So we were serving 100 or 120, we were serving 20 riders. Those are difficult decisions to make for us. Because the riders we can serve are the ones who need the least amount of support. Those that you can stay socially distant from at all times. And arguably, the mission of Right On is to serve individuals with disabilities, and that involves being close for much of the time. They might have as many as 2 or 3 volunteers or helpers immediately in direct contact with these riders. And obviously, in the era of COVID, that's a problem. So our staff is working very hard and creatively to come up with ways to kind of thread this COVID piece. And I know your program staff at the same time, you have a lot of experience with this, has been going through the same kind of reimagining how we deliver service. How is it that we can still do our job, but still stay safe? And that is exactly the process that we are doing. So what you're doing in the background is the same stuff that we are doing in the background. And it's a challenge. It's honestly quite a challenge. The first 9 months of the year, I guess 6 months of the year, from last September to March, was a very normal 6 months for us. So everything that I would have said to you in prior years applies to this year for the first 6 months. And then everything changed. And that is going to be an ongoing story, because we really don't see a path forward right now serving those who are most in need of our community, precisely because they need that ongoing, continuous, direct contact for the 45 minutes of the hour that they're at our facility. And that's what we're trying to start with. This month, we are launching a pilot program with our hippotherapy, that's our physical therapy program. So we are putting in another layer of PPE equipment for our staff and for riders who can tolerate PPE equipment. And then we are reevaluating the level of support those patients need to see if we can successfully extend our services to another slice of the population that we want to serve. So that's going to be going on. That will add a total of 6 more patients to our service level, but it's going to take that much care and planning to see if we can successfully do this. We'll evaluate at the end of September, and that might give us an opportunity to expand our services. Other than that, other than a complete shock to the system and a complete loss of all our fundraising and a loss of half of our lesson revenue, everything else is going. But it's normally at this time I would be inviting you to our fall fundraiser. So in 2 weeks we would normally be having a grand event. That's not happening. We are working on creating some sort of virtual event in October, which we have some hope will be something that will replace. I will say this on the bright side, our donations this year are up over last year. So that is actually the good news here. And that's something that surprised me because I thought our donations when the recession, when the economy collapsed, rule is the donations collapsed with it. That didn't happen for us.
Wow.
So in fact, our donations are up about 10 or 12% from last year, which I credit to Vidon's focus on our service, our standing in the community, transparency with which we operate, and our track record of delivering service to the community. We've always spoken to you and to the entire universe in terms of Vidon being here for the long haul, and that is something that we are committed to, and we have built our entire organization to make sure that we can deliver not only this last 20 years of service, but the next 20 years and 20 years. As you know, we started the project with Mrca Community Questioning Center last August, so we just passed our 1-year anniversary with that. And that has, we think that has enormous potential for yet another collaborative partnership, yet another program that really sets the community apart. I feel strongly this is precisely in your guys' the CRPD wheelhouse. The way that we have worked right on the CRPD have worked with over the last 20 years is something that we can build on, and we can deliver that much more in the future. So we're very excited about that. We think that's a great opportunity for us to move the ball forward in a significant way. Clearly, when we started last August, many of the assumptions we had are not the realities we face now, but the underlying logic of this, the ability to deliver new programming to the community, put together creative partnerships, such as we have built at the community center. We run summer camps over the summer. We are now offering mini camps during the school year, during the week, to complement the stay-at-home schooling of the children. So when they get out of school, we have a camp, a horse camp that they go to and burn off all that energy that otherwise is just going to result in a laptop getting something still. So that's very exciting. We're very pleased to offer that. We think that's a great opportunity, and that's just one very small example of exactly what. Happy to answer any questions. If there's anything specific you'd like to ask for, I want to thank you again for including right on in this community, because that is never a given. That is never. You should never sell yourself short that this is something that happens in the ordinary course of business. This is not. This takes an amazing organization with talented leadership, dedicated staff, to reach out to the community and identify an organization like Right On and bring it in so that we can do work. So thank you very much. If you have any questions,
Thank you, Brian, very much. Any board members have questions? Yes, Nellie.
I'm just wondering, on your camps that you're doing, are those just for the children that are enrolled in your therapeutic program, or is that for anyone?
yeah, that's right. Anyone?
Director Huffer.
Brian, I just wanted to thank you for what your organization has done for the last 19 plus years, and I'm always encouraged to hear you telling us that you're in this for the long haul. You said your donations are actually up this year, which is great. My recollection, which could be off, is that much or most of your operating expenses are paid through donations. So could I assume that means that financially, even though your clientele is way down right now, that you're doing okay financially?
It's a little more multidimensional than that. We actually have 4 financial legs to our organization. Donation being one of them. Fundraisers is its own category. That's number 0. Lessons is another category, and then grants. So we have 4 roughly about 25% of our income comes from each of those 4 categories. So when I say fundraisers have gone from 100% to 5%, we just lost about 24% of our annual operating expense. Same thing with lesson income. We're down 50% on lessons. We just lost 12% of our operating. So it's 30 in those 2 categories. That's 37% of our income. For $1 million organization, you see that's a pretty significant thing. We did get some PPP funding. That helped. We have, and so financially, we actually made an immediate commitment to our staff. That was really my first thought. It was not to protect the health of our staff, but to protect the financial security of our staff. So we made a commitment to all our staff on with all their regular hours, and we've been able to do that. I think that's, we've been eating into our reserves to do that, but I think we want to be here at the end of this, and I can't afford to lose a staff that's taking me 10 or 15 years to build. I don't want them to go off and get a job at costing. So we are focused on keeping the team of 25 employees together that we have, precisely so that we are ready to deliver the kind of world-class service we have been delivering at many.
Well, thank you very much, Brian.
Yes, thank you. Director Holt, do you have any comments or questions? All right. I have a question, and I'm pretty sure Director Holt could answer this also. But for Brian, first of all, do you recall where the CRPD Board of Directors was meeting when you made your first presentation? Come on. Come on. Wilbur, yeah. Okay. You answered one of my questions when you covered the employee. So therefore, the horses are getting proper exercise and all the other aspects that go with tending to your horses, which are so key and, as we all know, and important to your programs. So,
That's actually a great point, because as you know, volunteers are an amazingly important part of what we do. Not only directly to the rider, but to help with our horses. So we made a policy decision that it was not safe for volunteers to come on site. So we've been operating on staff-only basis to exercise all our horses. So actually, we're busier than ever. We are doing more things than we've ever done, because we have just our staff to take care of barns full of horses and keep all of those conditions. So that's one of the challenges. And one of the obligations I feel is to protect our volunteers, because we always know we have insurance for our volunteers, we take care of our volunteers. Our job is to make sure that nothing bad happens to our volunteers. Hurt or something falls or something like that. We certainly can't go around exposing our volunteers, asking our volunteers to come in and help support our mission, and then expose them to something. So there's really a very strong ethical obligation to protect our volunteers. And this is frustrating for our volunteers because they want to come.
Sure.
They want to come. They're knocking on our doors, they're calling the emails all the time to come back. And we're really having to say no now just because we don't feel we maintain the level of safety that we want.
Right. And one last question, between the two sites, the one in Chatsworth and here in Thousand Oaks, are there any staff that service both venues?
Our line staff, no, I go back and forth, although most of the stuff I've been doing is from. Because we have the system, we've always had the system. So I just work from home instead of from home. Most of our line staff are just stay at one site, so we're not crossing county lines. Because that's the other part of this, is that for county has a different situation.
That's right.
And post-pandemic profile than ours. So we're cognizant of that. We have different opening templates, timeframes, and policies.
Very good. And as the other directors have made mention, we thank you for all that you do in making these programs successful. And now with Dos Vientos online and potential future for that operation, we're getting to be a real strong organization and partnership. So again, thank you for all that you and Gloria and everybody does.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And now we're moving on to our second special presentation, ETI Corral number 37. And I understand they're a Zoom participant this evening.
Okay, so Chair Lang, we did get notified by ETI. They may be on the Zoom call at this time, or they may be slightly late because of conflicting obligation. So they will call Mark at some point to check in sometime during our meeting, and I'm hoping at whatever agenda item we conclude after they call in, we could just put them back into
Be a
the
little
agenda.
flexible.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Mr. General Manager. Item 4, items from the public. Mark, do we have any public? No public. Item 5, approval of the agenda. Be willing to entertain a motion at this time.
I'll move approval.
Thank you, Director Huffer, and a second by Director Cutsworth. Thank you. Any comments or questions associated with that? Take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, that motion will pass. We're going on to consent calendar 6A, B, and 6A and B. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Director Holt. Appreciate that. And is there a second for that motion? Thank you, Director Huffer. And 6A is approval of the minutes of our July 16th board meeting and July 28th special board meeting. And B was approval of the warrants as presented. We have a motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, that motion will pass. We're going on to item 7, deferred matters, and we have none. Item 8, items for discussion, and CRPD update regarding COVID-19. And Elaine? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you, Chair Lang, members of the board. I do have a little bit of an update. We have not been together since the end of July, so we have not really met during the month of August. So there has been certainly some things that have happened, but believe it or not, the rules regarding our operations when it comes to the public health openings and closures have not really changed for us all that much. In fact, I just looked at the date on our last update for our what's open, what's closed flyer that we keep posted on our website, and it is most recently dated July 17th. So we haven't really changed in the 6 weeks. For those, and I don't think we can probably help enough by reminding people what's open and what's closed. So the general rule is all parks are open. The community centers are closed for walk-in or drop-in use. We are using the community centers to support the rec programming we call Quarantine. In the summer, it was day camp, but essentially it's an adjunct to sort of, it's keeping kids busy while they're not in school. And we are doing that, of course, within the COVID guidelines. The playgrounds remain closed under the state public health order, and there are still no organized team games or what they consider to be scrimmages or game-like practices. So we are doing more and more permits for fitness activities that many of the sports groups are starting to come to us and come with their Ventura County attestation and meeting the COVID guidelines and doing fitness. And most everything else is open. So the general rule, it's no different for us than everyone else. It's please try to stay 6 feet apart. When you can't, you really should be wearing a mask. A mask is required when you're unable to maintain that 6 foot separation, whether indoors or outdoors. And really the general rule is gatherings are not permitted unless, of course, it is for one of those public health specified purposes. And we are reminding folks, a lot of people are using our parks, which is great. People are being encouraged to go outside, to use the parks and be outside. But we are having quite a bit of trash, and it would be really helpful if people practice that pack it in, pack it out mentality. You know, bring whatever you bring to the park, take home with you, and that will really help out our folks. Another reminder is the drinking fountain may not be working where you're at, so please have your own water. So that is what is happening with CRPD in particular. And I did want to share with the board and the public a little update what the state did change recently with respect to their system for evaluating reopenings. So this is the California State COVID-19 webpage. And this is where, you know, you'll get your most current statewide information. But if you go and click on the county, Mark can kind of type in our county. Well, here, let's first look at the four colors. So you have purple, red, orange, and yellow. So that is our new reopening system to kind of consider. Ventura is in the widespread purple category, which is not the category you want to be in. So we still remain furthest from reopening. And it's because I think we fail on the cases per 100,000. So if you look at that, we got to get our cases below 7 per 100,000 daily. That's a daily case rate. So I think we have about 800 and change. So I think we have to be below like 60 new cases a day for, I think it's 2 weeks. Then once you get that, you have to stay in that category for 3 weeks before you can move on to the next color. So you can't fall back. You have to like be in that next category for 3 weeks before you're allowed to move to yet another reopening. So if you can just look at that, we're a minimum of 12 weeks away to getting to kind of the yellow stage. And that, I presume, is not green. So I can't imagine there would be large community gatherings that we're used to providing allowed until, you know, after yellow. So we are looking at this situation probably through the end of the year. As we hopefully get better and better and better and move into the, you know, more open type color schemes. So that's the state's category. And if, Mark, you wouldn't mind going to the type in Ventura there, and then you can kind of find out information about Ventura in specifics. You type in Ventura, it shows we're purple. And then just if you scroll down, Mark, so these are all the different areas that the county has, in the state and county together, have decided they're going to regulate. And there's nothing in particular I wanted to show you other than if you think about CRPD's operations, we fit within many of these different categories. So we're like a day camp, we're like a cultural ceremony, we have people that want to come and do a wedding, we have somebody that wants to permit sports, we have, you know, folks that are walking. So we you know, some businesses, if you're a dry cleaner, you may just have to focus on what dry cleaning is all about. But our staff are having to kind of navigate the maze of all many of these different categories of reopening. So each one of these things, if you were to click on it, has its own sort of, click on government services, it'll have its own set of industry guidance and directions on how to reopen. So we are constantly being kept on our toes with respect to all of these different rules that I think they are getting a little better about not changing so constantly, and they're even doing a little better about highlighting what's new, say in the past week or two, by a different kind of font or color, so you don't have to reread everything to find out what changed. But it is a bit of work for our staff to just even stay current with what we're supposed to be doing. And of course, folks, because we are government, folks are coming to us and asking us how they can, you know, fit within the rules and what they're doing. So we're having to try to be not only follow the rules, but also interpret the rules for other people. So we've had quite a bit of challenges, and then we appreciate the public's patience for us, because for every person that's complaining or commenting on whether we're being too lenient with respect to reopening, we're talking to a resident that will come in an hour later and suggest that we're maybe being too stringent and not allowing enough reopening. So it's been quite a challenge, and I applaud our field staff for trying to kind of navigate that. And Andy Morales, who's trying to issue permits for people that come in. There's a lot of lawyerly reading of the rules and regulations, and people come in with all sorts of creative ideas on how they can kind of shoehorn something into to the rules. So it's been quite a challenge, but we are open. We are trying to stay safe and follow all those health rules. And your staff are living through interesting times. We're happy to be here. Yeah, and I'm available for questions.
Director Holt.
I'm just asking, I think everything that's determined as to what you can and cannot do is based on Ventura County, right? Because, I mean, that's something you can tell these people. It's not what's going on only in Thousand Oaks, or, you know, a smaller amount of things happening in Thousand Oaks, but we have to go by the county, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. So it's actually the state of California has a set of rules that they promulgate, and then the county decides whether to make those rules more stringent. They aren't allowed to be more lenient than the state. So we really are always looking at what the state and the county do together. And so, yeah, and our colleagues at the county, they have a tough job too. I know I can't imagine the difficulty it would be to try to be the public health official trying to make all these judgment calls. So I kind of feel for our friends over at the county as well, but they are trying to do the best they can.
That's kind of an excuse for us to consider, because they're saying, oh, Brecken Park, you should be able to do this. We should be able to do this. Hello?
Yeah, and I think most people are starting to understand that CRPD is following health orders. We aren't making health orders. We are following health orders and passing on that information. So to those frustrated because we aren't saying yes to more active, you know, gathering type requests, it's simply because we're trying to follow county health orders. Correct.
Any other questions, General Manager? Are you, through various organizations, Brecken Park State, I don't know if monitoring is the right word, but are you soliciting input from some of the other Brecken Park districts and see how they're responding to, you know, state rules and so forth?
Absolutely. We are actually on, thanks to the wonders of Zoom, we are on pretty regular calls with different groups. I personally am on one where there's a GM call with the California Association of Rec and Park Districts. I had one of those this week. I know Rochelle is on a group, and Tom are on groups with local, geographically local park districts and departments. And so they're trying to stay current with what each other are doing. So we are certainly communicating with our colleagues.
I'm sorry.
No, I've got it. It was a brilliant response.
Okay. Being that there's no more comments or questions for the general manager on our update regarding COVID-19, we're going on to new items, starting with 9A, proposed to 2021 Board of Directors meeting schedule. Mr. General Manager.
Yes, Chair Lang, members of the board, this is a pretty simple item. They'll get a little harder, but this one is simply, do you want to adopt the 2021 board meeting schedule, which would be every month on the first and third Thursday, except for August, a normal August break. But because the meetings in December are early, we could actually still have the 2 in December. So with that, I'm available for questions.
Yes, Director Holt.
I presume that come, for instance, I think the Mrca is going to be either in Palm Springs or
Yeah.
Oh, it is the one in November? October. Oh, it is. Oh, okay. It's going to be in Orlando. Oh, okay. I was thinking it was. CPRS is supposed to be in San Diego in March. They're still hoping to do that. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes, and of course, as always, if the one of our big park conferences or, for example, Public Officials Night in Ventura County, if we do get a board night conflict, we're always able to move agenda items around and cancel the board meeting if we need to, or reschedule if we need to.
Okay, any other comments or questions on the proposed schedule? If not, I'd entertain a motion for approval. Director Cussworth. The second? Director Huffer. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Director Holt, we're voting.
I said I.
Oh.
But I have a little funky around.
And I was,
Yeah, we have ants right
and I was just mentioning to Aline, based on, they appear to be coming out of the ceiling, falling out of the ceiling.
Oh, my.
Because they're not crawling, they just appear. So anyway, enough about the ants. That motion passes. We're moving on to item 9B, Annual Master Plan Update and Capital Improvement Program Projects, Status Reports for Fiscal Year 2018 and 19 to 2020. Mr. Air?
Thanks, Chair Lang, members of the board. This is an exercise that we do on an annual basis. One, to show you all the capital projects that we did this previous year. And then actually this year, we do have a couple of revisions that we are proposing to the master plan. So as far as the capital projects go, we had 36 projects approved by the board last year, which we completed 26 of them. Spent a little over $2 million. Regarding that, there's an attached spreadsheet showing you the details of each one. The staff uses the spreadsheet on a monthly basis to track the progress of all of the projects. The blue ones are complete, the green ones are in progress, and will be carried over to the next fiscal year or this current fiscal year, and the white projects will not be done. Some highlights of some of the projects: we did a variety of wonderful matching and non-matching grants with the community through our CIP Grants Fund program. We completed 3 playground renovations at Desvianos, Kimber, and Rancho Caneo Playfield. We got an awesome little toilet and sink in the preschool restroom at Teo Community Park. You laugh, it's pretty cool.
A ribbon cutting?
Ribbon cutting, and Chuck said he wanted to be the first to use it, so. We did if remember, it seemed like it was several years ago, but we did that walking path at North Branch Neighborhood Park when we partnered with the community on that one. That was the beginning of the fiscal year. And we also had the wonderful healing garden at Canal Creek North. We have various notable projects that will be carried over into this current year. They're all going at different paces, from the design of Canal Creek Southwest to the new bridge at Wildwood, and the community center, Canal Community Park assessment. That's going along really well. And then the renovation and expansion of Teen Center and Global Adult Center, we're nearly ready to go out to bid if the city would just let us to do that. So with a couple of the master plan revisions, which we are proposing, is, two of them. The revision one is we're really just further defining what it means to be on a recreational trail or a walking path. So we just added that definition to neighborhood parks, district-wide parks, and regional parks and special facilities. Just a little bit more consistency on what it means to be on a trail within a park. And revision two, there's an attached map, which is map 8, I believe, in the master plan. It's for the Costco CRPD trail system. We recently finished the Wishbone Trail, which is in the southeast portion of the district. And also the, if you remember, just 6 weeks ago, and we're just recently gonna, 6 weeks ago, the board voted on it. We're almost complete with the work, get out the Page Lane portabilities we have with Caltrans along the west side of the 23 freeway. So we removed that from the trail master plan. With that, I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hare. Any questions, Director Huffer?
Yeah, Tom, just a couple of comments and questions. I was pleased to see that at least 2 of the play area renovations were significantly under budget. Was that, did we overestimate what it was going to cost, or I think it was the Dos Vientos Neighborhood Park and Kimber both came in about 10% under budget.
Generally, what we do, we probably, I think we had like no change orders. That was the thing. We generally put about a 7 to 10% change order contingency in there.
Oh, so it's mostly contingency.
Yeah, and but playground in general has no change orders because they're fairly easy. It's cut. You order it, you put it in, you're done. But we have to have the contingency in there just in case something needs to be done. And so we didn't spend it on those 2 projects.
Okay. And then on the awesome preschool restroom, you said that there's a balance of 82,000. Is most of that going to be used up by the final payment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just we're crossing. We just hadn't. We just finished it mid-June or so. So the final payment hadn't been processed yet.
All right. And then going back up a little way, the Walnut Grove equestrian barn improvements, it's being carried over, but according to the spreadsheet there, all 25,000 has already been spent.
That is correct.
How are you going to carry over something if you have no money left?
So we did an amendment with Ride On, which we've done with several other groups in the past before. Cash flow problems, as Brian was telling you about. So what we do, we front the money to the group, and by the end of the fiscal year, they have to provide proof that they spent at least $50,000, which would be the matching of the 25. So
okay.
he'll provide me the proof by the end of the year. And if he doesn't, let's say he only spent $40,000, he owes us $5,000.
Okay. All right. And then one other question on this, the North Ranch neighborhood walking path. We saved almost $67,000.
Yeah, we're actually pretty amazed on how low that bid came in.
Huh.
Yeah, we budgeted. We based the budget off of. We've done several of these before, and it was just really low, and it's great.
That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we like that.
always like to see spending less than more if it and it works out the way it's supposed to.
No, it's perfect.
The neighbors are happy.
The neighbors are very happy, and that's not including. I mean, that it was $83,000 cost on the neighbors, and of that $83,000, we were reimbursed $30,000 by the neighbors.
Okay, all right. And then I have a question for our general manager. I seem to vaguely recall we talked about this somewhere in the last year or two, but how frequently do we not just amend, but redo the entire master plan? Or, 9 years old at this point, are we somewhere along the way coming up with a needing to redo the entire thing?
Absolutely. I believe we have it in our strategic plan for 2022.
It's either 21 or 22. We generally, because we have to rely, not have to, but we rely on the census data that through plan, because that can change, it changes the numbers, of where people are living and where people could possibly be living. So we work with the city of Thousand Oaks for that. So once they get the census numbers, but then also what's going to be, I think, even a bigger hurdle or challenge, you want to say, to update is the city is doing an update to their general plan. So that's going to, even though the numbers of the people are whatever, the most important thing to us is going to be where those people are living and can live within the city. So that's going to be, I don't want to update the master plan and then literally, a year later, the data is bad.
All right. And I'll refrain from making any comments about how accurate the census data might be, but thank you.
Thank you, Director Hufford. Director Cusworth.
But we got your message.
So just to follow up on him, and then I have a few more. What did we do 2 years ago when we had that whole day retreat? I thought we were updating the master plan. So we do something even more than
A
that?
strategic plan.
Strategic, okay.
Yeah, the master plan sets out where the population is, the park acreage that's needed in those particular planning areas and zones, the type of activities, whether, it takes a pulse of what's in the community for whether it's a dojo boom, like the bouncing, the indoor bounce houses, archery, tennis, like trying to put the pulse on where the people are, what kind of park acreage we have in those different planning areas and zones, and what type of amenities that the community wishes to have throughout the district.
Okay.
I
was just wondering what the difference was.
On how we're going to build and renovate in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, think of the master plan as a physical, geographical based document, like kind of a part of the city's general plan, but our strategic plan is more like our business operational directional guidance. Okay. Yeah.
So I have a couple other questions. The Wildwood Bridge, where is that going in Wildwood?
It's connecting, if I'm trying to, yeah, it's you know where the current bridge is?
Yes,
okay.
and I wanted another one further down the road. So is that where it's going to be? Okay,
just because you wanted it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little further down the road. It's going to have several it'll help out the folks who are hiking throughout there, because it provides a better loop, so they don't have to be on the road as much. It also provides a vehicular another exit for the people down there, from the Hill Canyon treatment plant, because if they get in trouble, they've only got one way out. So this gives them, and it gives a better access between Hill Canyon treatment plant and the Municipal Service Center, which is at the end of Rancho Caneo. So they'll be able to go up there. So it's something we've been working on for several years. We've provided quite a bit of money towards this. Actually, that's all ours. $654,000 is all ours. The city and Costco are putting in some other money for it, but it's a Costco and city project to do it. We're just financially contributing to it.
Okay, I'm glad, because I know people, and I've been very tempted to go across just those sandbags where they say do not cross. So that's where you're going to be putting it, is kind of like so that you can go from the parking lot where you can park and walk on a trail and then cross over to get on that road, so you don't have to either walk on the road all the way to Wildwood, or you don't have to go
in
up
a sense. I
could
send you a map where
okay.
it's located. It's kind of it's hard-ish to describe, because there's plenty of places, but I'll send you a map.
Okay.
Where it is.
That's fabulous. The Sapwe Trails rocks, are those the ones that are sort of showing how to get from place to place on the disc golf area. They're like little rocks along the trail.
Yeah,
They're like little
defining
red rocks.
boundaries, defining boundaries and little some wayfinding, because when you see the rocks, you know, I gotta go from here to there.
Oh, no, I know,
Yeah.
because I walked that the other day.
Yeah, yeah.
I decided I don't think I can play that disc golf course, but I
Yeah, no,
walked
don't.
it.
Yeah, no,
And,
you'll lose all your discs.
And those rocks were incredibly helpful.
Oh, yeah, you do that. Okay, good.
Yeah,
Oh, it's.
so,
Sopwith, it's
Oh, I
difficult.
think the other-
No, Sopwith is I will never play Sopwith.
no,
So-
in fact, I want to, anyway, I can talk to you later. I want to have a little discussion with you on that disc golf course. But anyway, I don't have to talk about it now. But I just wanted to say that when I did walk it, having those little rocks there made it very easy to find it to the next tee. So that was money well spent.
Yeah.
Very, very good. The other question I had, and this may be kind of silly, is on the healing garden. It says that it's 99.81% done. Are you waiting for a plaque?
No, that's the, if you look at the top of the column, it's a percent expended money.
Okay, so you're done. You
Yeah,
just
we're-
are under budget.
The project
Correct.
is
We were
done.
$487 under budget.
Okay, all right. Well, I probably should have been able to figure that part out. The other thing I have here is for the White District Wide Open Space Wildfire Management Plan. Does that have anything to do with the money that we got from the settlement, the electric company settlement?
No, we applied for a grant with FEMA for that plan, and we did not receive the grant. And since we didn't receive the grant, we've kind of turned it over to Casca they should take the lead on providing that plan, because they'd have the lead on it anyway. We were doing the work before for the FEMA grant, but so we figured
Okay,
it's
so
something
that doesn't have anything to do with, that's what I was wondering.
Correct.
Okay.
That conclude your questions?
Yes, and you know, Mr. Hare always answers so thoroughly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Cuthbert.
He does.
Director Holt, do you have any questions? Okay. Mr. Hare, on the CIP grant fund program, Newberry Park Pony Baseball has put in a barbecue island separate from the existing.
Well, technically technical
Oh.
Imagine just, so you've got your building, and then they built like a L shaped. Because what they were doing before was they would wheel out, do the barbecue out at home, at Home Depot, and then they would cook burgers right there. So now it's a little bit more of a formal. It's really pretty cool of what they. I mean, it's like a really kick-ass backyard barbecue.
Okay, similar possibly to the Canal Creek North barbecue setup that.
Maybe even better.
Okay,
Yeah, I'd say almost better what they have, because they had one of their dads is a contractor who does that for a living. And
Great.
actually too, the just putting strange coincidence, but then we actually used that same gentleman contractor. He helped us design the water features at Healing Garden.
Oh,
Because that's what he's a craftsman, metal worker type guy. So
Great.
he helped us design, and he put it all together, he did all supplies for us, and we put it together.
great. Well, maybe when this COVID stuff is behind us, we can have a quote unquote ribbon cutting of their barbecue.
No,
And they can put on a barbecue for us.
They would love that. Believe me, they want to play yesterday, so they would love to serve some tri-tip and some burgers for us.
Okay. Then in the same category, Amateur Baseball Development Group says Phase 1, the new restroom, which we've heard. What is Phase 2 of that?
Finishing the restroom. So phase 1, what they did was they did the sewer line, paid the sewer fees, did the shell of the building. And so then the phase 2 is just, putting the plumbing fixtures in and in the interior finishes. So they applied for a grant for this year for that. So that's underway. So that's going to be a really nice feature for them. If you remember, I think we talked about last time that it's next to the snack shack along the first base line. And if, of course, people from out of town say, hey, where's the bathroom? We'd have to point to the Canal Creek South. So they would have to walk,
Right.
I don't know, nearly a half a mile to go to the bathroom. And they weren't, Yeah, well, going like this,
I've been there once or twice.
Okay.
quarter mile. How's
Um,
that sound?
Okay, oh, here's another ant. On the spreadsheet, capital projects, 1.12 open space of Resna improvements, and Chuck may be able to contribute to this. Nothing has been spent there yet. Nothing has been done yet. Is that correct?
Correct. We're doing a lot of the work, just the Rangers are doing it in-house, but as they can. But the Rangers have, done some flagging work and some initial, they have to think about it, and look at it through the GIS, and they've done some flagging and some field work. But with COVID too and all the things that's been going on, they've probably spent about 500 hours doing COVID-related work the past 5 or 6 months. So projects, like big projects like this, haven't been the highest priority for them.
Okay. I too had asked Director Cusworth a question about the wildfire management plan. That's been answered. And you talk about the Wishbone Trail, the far east. It is almost at the.
And stuff that was the one that was connecting to. Jim can show you. It was connecting to
Is that
the West Lakes Park.
Looks like a wishbone.
Yes, yeah, that, yep.
Go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
Connecting to the West Lakes Park. Their big park with the YMCA. So our open space abuts their property. So we did a trail there so it connects to their property onto our property.
Very good. And then I recall, and I'm probably answering my own question, to the far west and north boundary, that CRPD boundary, and there's nothing there. Is that the Vallecito Mobile Home Park? Far west, top north?
Yeah. Yes. That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay, very good. All right, that concludes my question. Anybody else have any additional questions or comments? Director Cusworth?
I love this map. Who made the map?
Of the trail system?
Yeah, the trail
It's
system.
a combination of our staff, Bill Palermo, and the Costco staff. So there's several. If you look at the master plan, there's I know this is map 8. So there's more than there's maybe 10 maps I think of that, and there's a lot of layers that you can do with GIS where you can you click on it and it gives you the maps. It gives you the trails, or it gives you the bike paths throughout the city. You can look up sewer lines and all sorts of different things.
So what was that on?
It's on our GIS system.
On our website?
I'm
Where do I
pretty
locate
sure
that?
you can I think you can click on it. I'll send you the link to that one too.
Thank you. Great service.
Okay. That concludes discussion and staff input. Again, thank you, staff, on the update of our capital improvement program projects.
Sure, and then I'll just give you a little update. Sharon's been texting me or from ETI for the last half hour saying her internet is down and she's trying mightily she's rebooted her computer. Now she's rebooting her router.
Okay, so it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
Well, we'll hope so.
Pardon?
I said we hope so.
Yeah, but
Hope it will happen.
okay. I'd entertain a motion associated with approving. There goes Director Huffer.
I'll move that we approve staff recommendation to approve the annual update to the June 2011 master plan.
Thank you. Second. Director Holt. Thank you. We've got a motion and a second to approve item B. Any other discussion, comments, questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, that motion will pass. Going on to item 9C, budget adjustments for fiscal year 2019-20 and 2020-21.
Thank you,
Thank
Chair and
you.
members. So we don't have too many adjustments for you. The adjustments for fiscal year 19-20, what we did are We identified the work centers that went over budget, and we wanted to bring those to you, one, to report back on why they went over budget, but also we want to identify those to make sure that they don't have impacts on our future budget assumptions. And so that's what's for 1920. We had one work center that went over due to a long-time retiree payout of an awesome employee. And then two are over budget because of increased costs related to COVID. So that's not going to change any of our assumptions for the current year budget. And then for the current year budget, we had two carryovers for operational type small operational carryovers, and then carryovers for the projects that Tom just reviewed. And so that's all we have for the budget adjustments. Director Huffer did point out I have a typo in the memo that it's phase 1 design at Caneo Creek Southwest, not just south. It's correct in the attachment, but not in the memo. So thank you.
Leave it to Director Hupper to find that.
Yes.
Okay,
And I'm available for any questions.
thank you for your report, Melissa. Any questions associated with Melissa's report? If not, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Thank you, Director Holt. In a second, Director Kessler. Thank you. Motion and a second. No further comments or questions. All in favor of 9C, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, that motion passes. We're going on to item D, MRCA final budget. Melissa?
Hello again.
Hello again.
So this is the final MRCA budget for your review. The Conservancy adopted it on Monday. The MRCA adopted it yesterday, and Rancho Simi is hearing it right now. Significant changes from the preliminary budget are changes to our operating revenue assumptions. Are a large portion of the MRCA operating revenues are from things like filming and events. The filming industry has actually done very well coping with COVID-19, and so we expect our estimate from the original, the preliminary budget to stay at about 50% of what we normally do. It's still reduced, but that estimate is accurate. Events are just, we're not seeing any increase until the gathering limitations are lifted, and so we reduced that assumption. We also had some good news from the county. Their annual contribution to our operating costs was scheduled to be decreased annually, and they stopped the decrease for this year, so we have a little bit more additional revenue there. The other significant changes happened in our land and improvements expense side. Staff worked really hard to shift personnel to grants and projects that have cash on hand while we're going through this COVID impacted time. Compared to previous years, we're also only hiring 2 people instead of 10. We're restricting overtime, and we're not scheduling any wage increases beyond the minimum wage requirements. And then finally, even with all of that, we still needed almost $1 million of our one-time money to fill the gap. We're obviously hoping COVID restrictions will be lifted and we'll be able to make more revenue because it's not sustainable to use that much one-time money in a year, but it's unique times.
You have to do what you have to do.
Yeah, and staff knows that if those restrictions aren't lifted come January, they'll probably have to look at cuts going into next fiscal year. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
All right. Are there any questions of Melissa associated with the final MRCA budget? And just an FYI, the MRCA finally staffing replaced Melissa's position. So
2 days
they're
ago.
whole in that regard. And we're fortunate to have Melissa on board. Thank you again. Okay, being no further comments or questions, I'd entertain a motion. Okay, Director Kessler, for approval of our final MRCA budget is.
I recommend that we approve the Mountain Recreation Conservation Authority final budget for the fiscal year 2020-2021.
Thank you. Second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Director Holt. We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, that motion will pass. Going on to the final new item, item E, Voluntary Retirement Incentive Program. Mr. General Manager, I assume? You gonna,
I will kick it off and
Then-
say the words voluntary retirement incentive program, and then kick it off to
Melissa.
Melissa, who's going
I know,
to.
you're just sick of hearing my voice. So you are probably aware that the city did a voluntary retirement incentive program. We looked at it at the time and didn't think we had much of a need for it, but some employees showed some interest. And so we figured it would kind of be a win-win for us. We talked to the city and it seemed like a win-win for them. So we did a survey of the employees that might be eligible. The qualifications were if they were 53 years old or older, and if they had 10 years of service with CRPD. We had about 36 people eligible, about 26 responded, 4 said they would definitely take advantage of it. Another 4 or 5 were kind of in the middle, and maybe it would depend. And so we thought it would be worthwhile going through and offering it and doing the analysis. So it's, when we did the math, it seemed like the savings start to occur in as soon as 3 months to maybe 6 months, depending on the level in which you hire a person to replace that position, or if you don't immediately refill that position in that time. And I do understand that Director Nichols had questions about us tracking those savings, and so we'll be doing that as well. We brought it to the Audit and Finance Committee, who recommended it to come here tonight. We also brought it to SEIU to get their input and answer their questions. And yesterday we had a Zoom meeting with all of the eligible staff to go over the details of the program. Initially, we're going to be asking for a general interest form to give us a heads up on who might be interested in this, and also give their supervisors a heads up on if there's going to be people leaving their team. They are required to submit the signed agreement, which is attached in your materials, by November 15, with a retire by date of January 15. The final payment can be made as part of their normal payment, or into a 457 plan if they're already enrolled in the plan. And Shelley is already meeting with individuals with a really awesome checklist of all the things people should consider before retiring. And then Director Huffer also caught something in the agreement regarding employee responsibility for taxes. And so we're going to clarify that to make sure that it's clear that we're still going to pay the employer required taxes on any of this payment. But if it puts them into a different tax bracket for their personal finance side, they're responsible for that. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
very good, Melissa. Questions of Melissa on this early retirement? Director Huffer.
I think we may have asked this question at the subcommittee meeting, but of the 4 individuals who are extremely likely and the 3 who might be likely, was there any breakdown as to full-time versus part-time on those 7?
No, the survey was anonymous, so we just know the numbers.
Thank you.
Okay. Any Director Kessworth?
How long is this offer going to be good for? Is this something where you're saying make this decision within a month, year, 2 years? I mean, I'm just wondering.
So we're obligated to provide 45 days for them to consider the agreement. And then they have another 7 days to rescind the agreement if they choose to sign it. But we're saying the due date is November 15th. So we're giving them until then to get us that signed agreement. So a long time.
And then the cutoff for retirement is in January.
Yes, and that's intentionally in case people wanted to have that income come in a different calendar year for tax reasons or whatever their financial plan is.
Any other questions, Director Kessworth?
No.
Okay, one quick one.
Sure.
You mentioned Shelley is meeting with some of the potential.
Yes. So
Okay.
based on our Zoom meeting and then meeting with SEIU, she's had a few people who are interested and wanted to talk about details with her. So she's already had, I think, 3 people come meet with her.
Mr. General Manager, are there other rec and park districts also considering this program for their employees?
That's actually a great question. We did talk about it at that CRPD GM call. I want to say there was maybe 30 people on the call from around the state. And when I mentioned that we were looking at it, I did share it with a lot of other districts. I got a couple emails back from 2 districts that said this is something we're looking at, but we didn't model this after a different rec and park agency. We actually modeled it right after the city of Thousand Oaks is. So I wouldn't be surprised if other agencies start doing it too.
It makes sense, depending on their staffing and all the other aspects of early retirement. But, you know, this time, what's going on, I think it's a good option for people. I'm glad that we're offering it. Okay, any other comments or questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion. Director Huffer.
I'd like to move that we approve staff recommendation to authorize the general manager to implement the voluntary retirement incentive program using available funds up to $200,000 for the program.
Okay, and a second. Director Cusworth, thank you. Motion and a second is on the table. Any other comments or questions come to mind? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions, hearing none. That motion will pass. We're going on to item 10, reports and announcements. Say again. Okay. We will go to item 10 after our special presentation, and it looks like we see somebody up there. Go ahead and introduce yourself and start your Zoom.
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay?
A little louder.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
You can.
I can.
I can hear it, but not that.
I can yell at you.
Go ahead.
We'll be really quiet.
Okay, and I'll try to talk and really project my voice. So I'm Sharon Henry and the president of ETI Corral 37. And so every year we get the honor of presenting to the Conejo Rec and Park District Board, so you can kind of see what's going on with ETI. 2020, not much, but I'll kind of show you. I have a PowerPoint presentation to show you, and so we'll go through that, and then whatever questions you have, just let me know. So let me see if I can share my screen. Technology is not my gift.
Mark, can you turn up the volume anymore? Okay. Anyway, not too much is going on, and
Correct.
If you want, stand right up there.
Now, can you see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
yes.
Thank you. Okay, so most of you I think know, but I'll reiterate again that the purpose of ETI is to kind of monitor legislation that affects the equine community. We also want to promote good horsemanship with how people work with horses, how we represent the equine community. And then we also work to preserve the riding and hiking trails and acquire them in the state of California. With our particular ETI Corral, we want to protect, maintain, and grow the equestrian lifestyle in the Conejo Valley. The equestrian community is very much dwindling, and so we're doing our best to keep those that have the horses growing and encouraging other people to have horses because of the different beautiful things that they offer. We have an amazing partnership with CRPD. We're very fortunate to have the use of the equestrian park and the arenas, and we're very grateful for that, and we just thank you for that. So we always want to improve and maintain the park and do our part to keep it just amazing for the community. And then we also, whenever there's an opportunity to have trails throughout our Conejo Valley that both equine, bicycles, pedestrians, that if we can promote that, we're definitely down for that. So our goals this year, in 2020, we have not been able to have any events. And we're at the point we have an event, 2 events in September, 2 October, 2 November. but we're finding that we're probably just going to scrap them for the entire year. We have a board meeting next week to decide because of COVID. So we have no income. Our horse shows and our horse shows, gymkhanas, just different events that we normally do is our income. And obviously we've not been able to do them. So we're just trying to do things around the property that don't cost money, that we work with CRPD on. So this is our goals for the year. The check, fix, and repair the main arena sprinklers, which CRPD has done. There's a stack of railroad ties in the field that looks very free form right now. So we're going to make a nice, neat pile of those. They just don't look that good. So we're going to make that nice and neat. We did purchase a storage bin that we're going to be putting up that can house some of the equipment that we've invested in, so that when it's not being used for an event, it is protected from the UV rays, the rain, those kinds of things. Also just protects them from some of the community that doesn't know how to use things properly. In the round pens, those are the smaller pens that are around the property. The footing is very uneven. It's either super deep or we don't have enough sand. So we'll be working to make that a much nicer, and then use some of that sand in that big arena that's kind of down by Princeton Avenue. We also plan on purging and reorganizing our storage bins, which we may sell some of the things that are in there. So that would provide a little bit of income. And then trying to keep the arenas and the parking lot weeded, which 3 of your guys came over and weeded all in and around the arenas, and they were amazing. And I went up to the guy and I told him how much we appreciated their help. And so you just, you have a really great crew, really great guys and gals. So one thing we were able to do last November is Day of the Horse. And we focused this time on kids. And we had a ton of little kids. One of the things that we did was this horse very graciously acted as a palette for kids to paint upon, which the kids thought that was really fun. We helped the kids, if you can see, they're using what's pool noodles that are made into little horses. So all the kids had a horse and they got to go around things, over things, and do little obstacles. But like I said, everything was geared towards these little people, and they had a blast. These 2 tiny little ponies came, which was super cute. And then we also had the ice truck come, which was a big hit with everybody. So it was a big success. We'll do it again in 2021, but that was something that we got to do at the end of last year. Some of the ways we use the arena, this is the big arena, is the kids riding at the very top in a circle. They're playing like musical chairs, but it's actually like not chairs because horses can't sit. So they go between those poles. It's like a musical stalls is what we call it. The big group of people off to, I think it would be your left, I'm not sure. That's just a lesson. That's a bunch of people riding in the arena. So that I wanted to take that group shot so you can see how many people use the arena on a regular basis. And then on the bottom, we've got the cute factor, kids doing summer camps, because that's one of the things that we do. Out in the field, we like to ride around the field. You know, these are a group of my riders. And then the gal on the tire at the bottom, that's over closest to Jan's, where there's an arena over there. And one of the equestrian community members has put out different things, and that it's kind of fun for training with the horses. So as you can see, she's got that horse standing on that tire that's filled with sand. And if you'll notice the top pick, there's a variety of ages there. There's some little people that are like 10 years old all the way up to, you know, older teenagers. So it's fun to have a mix. Last year we were able to do our horse shows. So these were some of the ones that were towards the end of the year. And again, there's all ages. We've got a senior citizen judge or gal dressed Western, and then a young kid writing English. And then this is the registration booth. So this is 2 judges that we're judging a double point show that we did last, I believe, October or so. So this is kind of how they sit up there and they can see everything really clearly. So that's good use of that registration booth. We were able to do the gymkhanas last year, and it's a variety of ages, variety of speed. We did an awards program last year. Unfortunately, we won't have one for 2020, but we've been giving away some amazing prizes. And so it's kind of sad that we can't do that this year, but you know, we'll have another opportunity. So ETI National has a junior ambassador program, and it's open to males or females. There are 3 different age groups, and the people that participate raise funds for ETI. They go to different events and promote the program. To be a part of the program, they have to do a written test, a writing test, and a poise and personality. So they have to get up in front of people and speak. So these 4 young ladies are all from our ETI Corral 37. So we had 2 that ran for Queen and 2 that ran for Junior Miss. And our kids did amazing. They represented us really well. And of the kids that are in Nationals program, there's only 5, 4 of which are from our corral. So we're trying to help grow the program at the national level. And that's just a couple of kids having a good time on a horse. And we just really, like I've said before a million times, that we appreciate you guys because you're pretty amazing. I'm gonna stop sharing. There. Hi. So I hope you can hear me, and I hope that was pretty clear.
Okay, thank you very much. Always an interesting program, and especially having to deal with our COVID issues. And I'm glad to see the enthusiasm and all of the individuals still doing the most they can and participating in those programs. Comments or questions by board members? Yes, Director Cutsworth.
I'm just curious, what's the ratio between boys and girls or men and women in your program? It seemed like I mainly saw girls and women.
Yeah, it is mostly girls. You know, if the young man only realized the dating options, and all the cute girls that ride. Boys tend to, I mean, we do have some, like I personally have some students that ride that are young men. But they're just not as active. They start getting into sports. I do have a little boy that's 5, and he's going to be a cowboy when he grows up. There's just the ratio. It's I would say 99% young ladies. So
Well, that's okay. I was just looking at the pictures and thought, boy, it seems like it's an overwhelmingly girls' sport.
It's always been the case.
Yeah,
it has been. Typically, the male community is more in the rodeo, the reining, and the working cow horse. So that's typical for, I would say, the equestrian world, unless you're getting into hunter jumpers. And then there are some young men there, but not as many as the females.
Okay. Anybody else have comments or questions? Well, thank you for hanging in there. I understand there was a little glitch also, but
You're
we've
welcome.
overcome all that, and we appreciate your presentation.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, and thank you very much for the support. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Bye.
Sharon.
Bye, you guys.
Bye. Okay, now we'll go to item 10 again, reports and announcements, A through D. Anybody have any particular comments associated with that? Okay, then we're moving on to item 11, department reports. Mr. Hare, Park Division.
Yes, thanks, Chair Lang, members of the board. Most just upcoming things will be planning on being before you on the next board meeting on the 17th to have a wonderful session about the Teal Boulevard, what's going on with the specific plan there, and the effect on the effect on the parks and the need for park acreage. So look forward to that. It's going to be stunning and riveting the whole time. It will be. Then also, Brian had mentioned, and I think we had a few comments about that too, that we have our Rancho Potrero Ad Hoc Committee meeting on the 15th, which Chair Lang and Director Nichols are a part of. So that'll be happening in the next couple of weeks. We've had some preliminary meetings with the city staff, and we're really looking forward to that meeting. Hopefully to move that project forward and that transition and that partnership that we're going to have. So we're also very excited about that. And then I said, we're also looking forward to, we've got some preliminary drawings back from the architects for the Kineo Community Park. It looks fantastic. We're going to meet with staff and do some other internal meetings, but we hope to be back before the board in November timeframe to give a presentation to you with some pretty pictures, but it looks really cool. So we're very excited about that. So a lot of neat things coming up in the CRPD world this fall for construction and projects. With that, I'm available for questions.
Are there any questions of Mr. Hare? On the Kineo Community Park, during the presentation, the neighbors will be alerted to them.
Oh, yes. Well, we'll probably do before we even go to the board, we'll reach out to the neighbors, and we'll also tell them about the board
Right.
meeting. But what we'll do is we'll have some public community feedback meetings prior to the board meeting, just to, and I'll let the board know about those also.
Okay.
But we'll reach out to them probably end of October, beginning of November, and we plan on, I think we're shooting for the second meeting in November to come to the board for the official presentation.
Sounds good. Okay,
Excuse me,
Director Huffer. I got the H right.
Yeah, you did. Very good. All right.
I was
Um,
doing too many other
I
things.
know there had been talk about doing the cleanup at the homeless encampment. And when driving up and down the 23, I've noticed some sections of fence that were taken out. And I don't know if that was part of the cleanup or if that's part of the widening project.
We finished our repairs this afternoon or yesterday afternoon. I can't remember. It was today. Today we finished. We did the cleanup over the weekend, and then we did the fence repairs. I think Monday through today. So we are done. And I think Jim had provided them notice via email, and we'll be sending them some stuff. But yeah, we're done with our responsibilities.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Huffer. Any other questions of Mr. Hare? Going on to item B, Recreation Division. You've been awfully quiet, Rochelle.
Yeah. Just taking it all in. Thank you, Chair Lang, members of the board. So a couple of things just to kind of remind you about. We have the concert in your car on Monday. You guys have all RSVP'd, and you should be getting your ticket via email. So keep an eye out for your email. Make sure when you come, you bring your ticket with you, because they'll be collecting the ticket and possibly checking names there. It is a come and park where you park, based off of first come, first serve. So just so you know, come early, you'll get closer to the front, vice versa.
We don't have reserved places.
Don't have reserved places, no, because it'll be whoever's coming in, it'll just be placing them. If you need to leave, then we'll let us know, and we'll place you at the back so that you can get out fast. But once you're there, we're not letting people leave unless there's an emergency. So that's going on.
I'm sorry, what did you mean by that? You can't leave unless there's
An emergency. Yes, there's no coming and going when you're in the car. So once you get there, you're in your parking spot until it's done, unless there is an emergency. And then you have to get a staff and you have to be guided out. So once you're there, you're there.
even if we park in the back.
If you're going to leave, there's two options. You can park somewhere not in the area and walk in, or you need to let staff know that you have to leave. You're a board member and you have to leave, and we will park you in the very back so that you can get out when you're done. So.
Yeah. But I'm just curious, I mean, if somebody, they have to have an excuse to leave.
Yeah, there needs to be an emergency.
And if this starts, I think, 4:30?
5:30?
But I mean, the parking lot.
Yes, the parking
4
lot
o'clock.
opens. Mhm.
Is it
4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And there's porta potties there. There'll be 4 porta potties and
And can you walk from there to go over to, you know, what is it? In-N-Out? No, that's.
oh, Red Robin.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually, if you get on the Oaks' website, they're encouraging people to use the restaurants, and it's for pickup, takeout. So you can place your order at a restaurant, and then you can go pick it up, walk and pick it up, and then bring it back. Or you could drive to the restaurant, pick it up at 4, and then bring it in. But yeah.
You can't leave your car to go walk over there.
Yes, you can park your car and go get dinner and come back to your car. But what we don't want is a whole bunch of people leaving in hordes to go to the restroom. It's 2 people from your car at a time. Remember, we're still trying to follow the gathering rules, which we're not allowed to gather. So,
Well, we got this information, I think it was, that if we weren't planning on staying, but I didn't quite, because we're not going to be up on stage. Just gonna be
Correct.
recorded, right?
correct.
So,
So if you want to come and enjoy the concert, then you park and you're there for the whole concert. If you want to go and have dinner at one of the local restaurants, park in the regular parking, and you want to come and take a peek and stand over by the theater and see what's going on, then I would park somewhere else, because then you can leave when you want to leave after dinner or whatever. We won't allow you into the concert area if you're not parked there. Possibly. I mean, we've met with the sound people, and he's pretty much laid out, if you park in this area, and that's why we have a limited number of cars, that you're going to have the best sound. Anywhere else, you might hear it. You might hear, blah, 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 you know, I don't know.
Director Huffer?
I'm just curious what kind of response you've gotten so far for ticket sales.
I asked him before he went on vacation, and we had about 150 sold about 2 days ago. So hopefully the weather's not going to be a turnoff for people.
You think sitting in a black
Concert in
top
the
in a
car?
hot car at 105 degrees is going to be?
Hopefully at 5:30, maybe it'll be 80 degrees. So I'm sure you can get out and stretch.
Will there be chairs up by the stage?
No.
No, I understand. I'm sorry, but after I know after the opening, is there a place going to be chairs to sit?
No.
I'm not. Yeah. Oh, never mind. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. There's no chairs anywhere that I'm aware of, unless I'm not understanding your question. You can ask me.
No,
afterwards.
you're understanding it,
Okay.
but I thought there might be a few chairs.
No, there's no chairs.
Because
Everybody
I
has to
don't
be in the
plan
car.
on staying. So I was going to walk in.
Oh, well, we can bring you a chair in case you need to sit down for a few minutes or
Yeah,
whatever.
That's kind of where I'm
yes.
going.
Okay, I'll make sure we have a folding chair there for you.
Thank you.
Okay, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
I will make note of that. Sorry. The other thing that is exciting, we are working with the chamber and some local restaurants, and we are going to be having picnic in the park. So I believe we might have given you a flyer in your packet.
Yep.
So it's super exciting. The chamber, Danielle, has worked really hard with the city and with the health department to make sure that this is an opportunity for some of our local businesses. The first 2 restaurants are Barron's Pizza and Smoky Steve's Catering. They're going to be providing about 100 meals. So you go online, you order which meal you want, you drive into Caneo Creek North, the parking lot that you come up to on the right, that's by the maintenance shed. That parking lot, you're going to drive into it, you're going to pick up your food, and then you can go park and eat your dinner in the park, or you can take it home, or go to a different park, whatever you'd like to do. But we're trying to support some local businesses and giving them some more outside options for dining and or takeout. So that's going to be going. We're going to be doing it every Thursday in the month of September, and we'll see how it goes. Basically, our. Hmm? Oh, Well, we can pick up, well, nope, 5:30. Nope, you got to pick up at 5:30. It's on the 10th. It's every Thursday. Thank you. So it's next Thursday. There's no board meeting.
No.
Okay. And then the fourth one, there would be no board meeting either. So yeah, so that'll be going on. So that's just something, our portion of that is that we're partnering with them, and we're not charging a rental fee in the month of September. And one of Tom's guys is going to be helping with any cleanup in the park. We'll see how that goes. So, so excited to be able to do that. You guys have your recreation highlights. A couple of things that aren't on there. We are working on some kind of a Halloween something. Our staff has had a meeting. They've got some ideas. So we're hopeful that we're going to have some kind of drive-through something for Halloween for the kids in the community. Also, I did go out this week and visit all of our quarantine childcare type programs, and it's amazing what our staff are doing and the ability of keeping the kids separated and with masks on and running programs. Like, this is not normal. They're running programs for 5 hours a day, and that is not normal CRPD other than camp programming. And so our staff have really just jumped into and are, working 5 hours with 10 kids, and they're doing really well. So therapeutics is amazing. They actually are doing the distance learning with the kids.
Doing what?
Distance learning. So they're
Oh.
actually helping the
Wow.
kids with school on
Wow.
their computers and stuff. And it's, they've got 2 groups, one at Crawley House and one at Old Meadows, that they're doing it. And the kids were all learning, and they were all talking to their different teachers, and they were all spread out. So it was really great. And the parents are so incredibly appreciative that therapeutics is offering
I
that
would
for
think
their
so,
for their
yeah.
youth. So on the last page, you can see the impact of COVID-19 on our staffing hours. So we've been keeping track, and I usually report out to you before. It was just kind of numbers, and James put it into a graph before our break. And so this is, you can see, obviously from like March 22nd to May 31st, we had no spring program. So we had like very few staff working for us, mostly the full-time staff. And then you can see come early June until August, mid-August, staffing went up. That was because we did have some summer programming, even though it was about half of what we normally do. There was opportunities for staff. And then it dropped a little bit because we had a week or so off. And then now we're into fall, but we cannot offer all the programs that we normally offer. So you're going to start seeing a dip again unless we start getting some more kids enrolled into the quarantine, which we are kind of expecting. The first session, I think parents were still trying to get used to being at home with their kids. And there was a couple of little tweaks. And in fact, this Wednesday, the school changed the Wednesday program. So parents were a little bit concerned about, I think, what was going on there. So I think we might see some more kids starting to enroll in those programs over the next week or so. We have session 2 starting at the end of September. So that'll be good. The last thing that's in your packet is a cost recovery spreadsheet. And I think the one that you want to really look at is this one, the graph one. The information that is on this one basically is how you got the graph. So it's the information behind the graph. So what you can see is basically 4 years. You can see the total graph is the total expenses. The green in the graph is what we actually made in revenue. The percentage number that's in the green is the percentage of cost recovery of that year. So in 16-17, we cost recovered 68% of our whole budget, and the district subsidized us $2.3 million. So then you go to the next year, you can see the cost recovery and what the district provided. Third year, and then you can see the last 2019-20. That's how COVID affected us, with no revenue pretty much in spring and summer revenue being very low. So you can see we lost about 20% of our cost recovery. The other thing that is important to know in here, those 3 years, minimum wage has gone up every year. And it's going to go up again this year in January, another $1, and it'll go up one more year, another $1. But one of the things, even though we have increased some of our fees for some of our programs, we have not increased all of our programs at the same rate as minimum wage has gone up. So that's why I believe in 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19, you can see that we kind of have dropped a little bit in the cost recovery, but kind of stayed still but what we were making in revenue. So that's something that as we come out of COVID, I will be paying attention to. And the reason why we did this is, and I've talked about it for a while now, is since I came on board, I was under the impression that there was a certain percentage that I was trying to get to, which I couldn't ever find in writing. So I was interested on where we really were. And so James and I were like, well, let's look at the last 3 years. So at the end of this year, we were going to look at 3 years and go, okay, now let's set some goals moving forward. And that would be a baseline for us. Well, since COVID happened, I don't know what the next couple of years are going to look like. So my goal still is, our budget has us budgeted at about 4 million subsidized, and we try to make as much cost recovery as we can. And as you can see, for 3 years, we were less than $3 million. So we were we were not using the 4 million that you guys were giving us. Last year, we got really close because of COVID. So with Melissa's help, we're going to be looking at the next couple of months very closely to see if it is realistic that all I'm going to need is that 4 million. And then if I need to make additional changes or do business differently, or what the district is going to want me to do. So we'll figure that out hopefully within the first quarter of this year. And with that, depressing news. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Rochelle. Yes, Director Tusworth.
So a couple of things. One, it could be worse.
It absolutely could.
You know,
And
I'm actually impressed that you made this much.
And I think that this year, the one positive thing I'm hopeful for is we're not going to have a whole session with no income, because spring we had no programs going on. So I'm hopeful that that's not going to happen. And my team is so creative and so good. I mean, they are really trying to come up with different ways to make revenue. I know Borchard was just telling me that we've partnered with Pleasant Valley and Simi Valley, and another that he couldn't remember the other district, but there's a company that is doing classes online, and we already have 70 kids enrolled. And it was a way of partnering with everybody to get this business more people, but yet we're enrolling them. So they're being super creative. Hillcrest Center for the Arts they keep coming up with out of the box ideas that we're like, okay, let's see if we can do it, you know?
Well, I think that I'm really impressed with a lot of what you've done. And I wanted to get a little more information on your quarantine. You said 5 hours. So are the kids doing their Zoom school meetings in the morning, or is this just like they're teaching them, or the kids aren't going to school? How are you doing 5 hours?
So the kids, when the kids are with us in the morning, they're going to school in the afternoon.
Okay, so they're Zooming with teachers in the afternoon?
In the afternoon. So our kids are broken up in AM and PM at school. So we're doing an AM and a PM quarantine care. So if you're in school in the morning, you can go to quarantine in the afternoon, and vice versa.
So is Caneo not Zooming now, or they're Zooming morning and afternoon?
They're Zooming morning and afternoon.
Oh.
So
Okay.
your kid might be in the AM class and you're going to school from 9 to 12, and your kid is in the afternoon and you're going to school from 1 to 3.
Oh, okay. I get it.
Yeah.
I Zoom, but I just Zoom in the morning with all my kids. I guess they
they've
figured make
split
it
them
a
up.
smaller class.
Yeah.
And make the teachers work longer.
Now, the only thing is they changed it right after they started. And so on Wednesdays, all kids go to school in the AM and the PM. So we had to adjust our Wednesday program So on Wednesdays, we are having kids bring their computers and their headphones, and we are giving them a place to do their Zoom with their teacher,
Oh, okay.
but only on Wednesday. Our program was supposed to be a complement to school and not school. It's more STEM, more enrichment, more recreational.
Oh, I'm sure that the parents enjoy it. The parents are heroes in this. I feel for them because, I am Zooming with first graders.
I've got a
And,
couple staff with kindergartners and middle schoolers and elementary school, and they're saying it's pretty dang tough.
So anyway, I really, I don't think that's depressing news. I think considering the situation, you're doing an amazing job. And I've been really impressed with the creativity and all the things that you're doing. So you're sort of making the best of a really bad situation. And, kudos to that. Thank you.
Okay, Director Huffer.
First of all, I'd like to point out that I guess it was a couple weeks ago that Rochelle accepted an award on behalf of the Safe Passage program from the Conejo Kiwanis Club at a district luncheon that we had.
Yep.
So tap me on the shoulder. What are you doing here?
I was like, surprised. He's like, wait a minute, where am I?
And a question for you, Rochelle. I frequently jog by the pool in the morning, and there's a sign up there that says the community pool is restricted to permit groups and CLU faculty and staff.
It's reservations. I don't think it's permit groups.
It says permit
does
groups.
it?
But it looks like there's still lapsed swimmers out there.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's all by reservations.
Okay.
So
But it
maybe
is
that's
open to the
it's
community.
open to the
Yes.
community. You
Okay.
as a community member can get online and you can reserve your lane on our website on registration. Reserve your lane. You have to. So then when you come to the gate, you go, "Hey, I'm here for my lane." And they check you in. Oh, yep, you reserved your lane. You're in lane 5, and you have to. There's a whole process.
Right.
It's
Okay,
pretty
well,
amazing.
All right,
And then
well,
we
I'm
also-
assuming the regular lap swimmers already had that figured out, but that sign is a little bit confusing.
That
for
is
someone
confusing.
who hasn't, think, oh, I can't swim laps because it's only for permit groups. So,
No, it's reservation only, and we do reservations for family swim also.
okay.
So we have 4 quadrants where families can come in up to, I believe it's 5 people in a household, and it's $20 for the hour, and then lessons are booming. So if you look at the, well, I don't have that here, but
The ribbon.
therapeutics revenue and swimming revenue are
Yeah.
really good.
I can vouch for the programs because we have our son and daughter-in-law living with us now for a while.
Uh-huh.
And our grandson today, I guess, was his last day for lessons, 2 weeks in a row, lessons. My daughter-in-law's been doing laps. And then our daughter and her family did that 5 reservation
Oh,
area.
yeah.
So they really appreciate the fact that they're able to do that. They
Yeah.
weren't able to do that back in Massachusetts. Any more questions, Mr. Director Huffer? Any other questions, Director Holt? Okay, we're moving on to Management Services Division. Melissa, who's already done a lot this.
I know. I do have some good COVID news, which sounds weird, but the unemployment impacts to our budget were substantial, which you all know. For fiscal year 1920, it was about $100,000, and we actually got reimbursed for half of that by the state because of the federal legislation. And so that does mean that our estimates for $500,000 for fiscal year 2021 are probably going to be more like $250,000, unless of course they extend it or do something else. So that's just some good news that we're getting some of the money from the CARES Act, and so that's great. The other thing I have is that Director Huffer had previously asked about Prop 15. and the impacts on CRPD if it were to pass. And so there's not a lot of detailed information. And when I tried to dig in, I understand why, because it's a lot of numbers that it has to be based on estimates, but the ranges that I got is that the potential new property tax revenue to Ventura is going to be between 135 and 171 million a year. I called it an average of 153. The state takes some administrative costs. They have to backfill the loss in state income taxes due to the increased deductions, which again, that I think is the hardest thing to estimate. So I called it 10%. County takes administrative costs. Then 40% of what's left goes to schools. 60% goes to the county for the way normal property tax is distributed. And of that, if it stays within our current formula, 6% would come to CRPD. There's also a phase-in period, which people get about 5 years to start paying into this. So all that to say, in 2028, I think that will be the end of the 5-year phase-in, with about 4 million coming to CRPD every year.
Wow.
We don't want to spend it all right now.
No. But it would be increased revenue, and depending on how that phase-in process comes in, funds could start coming in as soon as fiscal year 23-24.
Thank you for doing all of that.
Sure.
Investigation.
It's interesting,
calculation.
but not specific. And with that, I'm available for questions.
Are there any questions for Melissa? Cheryl would be very proud of you. That was a good report. Okay, with that, we're moving on to 11D, General Manager's Report. Mr. Friedel.
Yes, the staff here is so excellent. I don't have much to say or add. So I do, though, because I'm going to milk this awards from CSDA as long as I can. So the Acorn wrote up a nice article about the awards that Chair Lang and the district received for the work we've been doing. And next meeting, the representative from CSDA is actually going to come to our board and hand us the whatever congratulatory token they have. So that'll be kind of neat for that to happen next week. So I guess that's our little pat on the back moment. So that's neat. Congrats to the board for that. The legislative session, California legislative session has ended. Not as much got done like everybody because of COVID, and they've definitely had to suspend their session a couple times because of outbreaks in the chambers. So I really don't have any particular piece of legislation that was something we were just worried desperately about passing or not passing. So it's kind of a legislative session, really. A few things were tweaked, that kind of thing. But that's how the legislative session ended. And then as Tom already mentioned, or one of the directors asked, we did in fact formally terminate the lease, the Porterville lease with Caltrans as of today. And that was actually the subject matter of our last meeting. So yeah, we got it all cleaned up to the best of our ability. In reality, that there were several homeless encampments that remained because of the policy of not moving them. So so that issue isn't kind of resolved completely, but at least we're out of the sort of the equation right now. With that, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Any questions for Jim? Yes, Director Cusworth.
So you said that they're going to come next week to give you the award. Did you mean next week or next meeting?
Meeting.
Oh, because I was going to say, I kind of might want to come.
Yeah, no, next meeting. They're coming
Okay.
to our board meeting, yes.
The 17th. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, with that, we're moving on to 11E, District Directors Reports, follow-up reports, and meetings and conferences attended. Who would like to start this off? Director Huffer.
Well, I can be real quick. The only meeting I attended was the Budget and Finance Subcommittee. That's it. I did get to spend a week up in Seattle with my new grandson, but That doesn't count. so-
No, that doesn't count, but we'll listen to it.
Yes.
Okay. Director Holt.
Oh, I was there too. It's a two-person committee. And so it was very rewarding. And of course, the results were finished where we came in on tonight. And Rochelle, I can't remember because I turned my papers in already. Did we talk about the Zoom meeting coalition? Okay, well, that was in August. I'm losing track, but anyway, thanks to Rochelle and Mark, yay. We had this Zoom meeting, and of course, usually what we have a rep. Some of you may not be totally aware of it, but we have a rep from the city, a rep from the school board, and I'm the rep for Rep Park, and I chair it, and all the meetings are held here usually. And thanks to Rochelle and Mark, and then also Rochelle's staff. Mention your name.
Well, we had Melissa and Tim on the meeting, and then James helped set it up.
Yeah, James always helps set up the minutes and everything, works on that. It was interesting, except Rochelle and I, you couldn't really see us on the screen. We were so, well, as far back as George's today, see you up there. And, but we had quite a few people from other organizations. Rochelle,
It was Boys and Girls Club. On the YMCA, we had several folks on there for those organizations, and then us. And basically, Cindy from the school district had asked us to pull it together so that we could all hear, as the Coalition for Youth and Families, hear what was going on out in the community to serve our youth and our families amongst our three organizations to start out with. So it was a really good meeting, and I think the next meeting that we're hoping to have, I think this month, is going to include some additional folks that serve the community to see what else is going out there. So the group, the board members wanted to understand, are we missing something? Where are we doing well in certain things? Are families needing something else? That type of thing. And then to connect those organizations that are serving so that they would know who was doing things. So maybe there would be some collaboration amongst the organizations. So.
Yeah. I think they were all very happy to be there and present the things and their group are doing. And it was great. But again, if Rochelle and Mark had been there, I don't know what I would have done.
Okay, anything else, Director Holt? Any other meetings you want to report on? That was a good one. Okay, Director Cusworth.
So I went to a couple of things. I'm used to the drive-ins now. I went to the Pirates of Penzance, and then I also went to the comedy night. And the Pirates of Penzance my husband's car battery kept going out, so we didn't really hear it very much. That was okay. And then, but the comedy night was a lot of fun, and I guess they're going to do that again. Really enjoyed it. And they were letting people sit outside of their cars because they parked them every other space. So I assume that's what they're going to do at the concert also, is park every other space? Yeah. So you could have like a little area in between cars where you could probably sit out. Anyway, we're planning to. We're going with some friends, and we're bringing chairs and everything to sit out. Hopefully it won't be too hot. But I think it's very innovative and, was a great idea. And then the Stagecoach Inn, it took them forever, but they're now open for outside. And they're doing a women's suffrage, the vote. So was it 150 years now? So they've got like an outside display, and you can peek in windows. And so they're doing that. And they're doing it on, I think, Saturday afternoons. Yeah, from 1 to 4, just their regular hours. They're not having many people come, but it's been hot. I was there one day, and I wouldn't have been there if it I hadn't volunteered to be there because it was really hot. But anyway, so they're hoping that they will get some, publicity. They put some publicity in the Acorn, so they're hoping to get more people out. And they're very safe. And then I wanted to mention, but Doug's not here. Did you guys see how he had his picture in the paper and they mentioned Director Nichols of the CRPD board was there serving the senior concerns dinner, or not senior concerns, Julie Spivak's lunches? He's in there in the background. And I thought, today's Acorn. And I thought he probably only went once, but he got some whoa, he's there dishing out meals. So well, it showed him he was in action in the background.
That same article, I'm sorry.
And his name was mentioned and everything, and he's not here to see it. But anyway.
The whole article was great, and it was great about George. You mentioned George again, and then also great about what
So look for the picture that shows Patty Ham, and Doug is in the back working. So I thought, and I mean,
the whole article is about Record Park.
Right.
And then also George. Great on it.
But Patty Ham is in the front and Doug is in the back. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. So anyway, and I wanted to say, since I'm in education in LAUSD, a lot of special ed parents are screaming because they are not having their services met. So it's really great. Our therapeutics are, really stepping up. I'm sure the families really appreciate that. So it just makes me feel proud that we're helping out so many families at this time, because I just feel so sorry for the parents of the kids in my class. I mean, the kids are doing good. I mean, they're 6 and 7 years old and they're muting and unmuting and doing things. And I'm pinning their screens and we're looking up here and I'm spotlighted. You all see me big? Thumbs up. Okay. I take out this book. And then all of a sudden they run off. Then a parent comes back and the parent's helping them get something. And so you can imagine how hard it would be for a child that had special needs. So, and then you can imagine how much the parents would like to have a break, to have a place for their kids to go that's safe and educational and fun. So, that's great too. So I guess that's it.
Thank you, Nellie. Real quick, VCSDA meeting, and a number of you attended that. I had 2 MRCA meetings, Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy, and also doesn't get a lot of PR, although it was mentioned in the article in today's Acorn about the Moore Park Watershed Parks Recreation Conservation Authority board that I sit on. And after years of working with Camarosa Water District, we got a license agreement for the use of Moore Park Watershed Parks Recreation Conservation Authority property for access. The fact that Camarosa has their pumping unit on our property, there had to be some agreements and so forth. And it just seemed to took a couple years, but we got the signed document on August 1st. And one of the projects that the Moore Park Watershed Parks and Recreation Conservation Authority wants to do is develop trails. And one of the trails we want to establish, we want to connect into the Mrca Ranch area. And Mr. Hare and Mr. Frito are already aware in general of what we would like to do. So somewhere on our master plan trails system map, we'll try and tie it in with some of our existing trails. And that'll really open up, to a certain degree, Moore Park's trails, and eventually hope to go all the way north up into the not San Gabriel's, the mountain range. I'm drawing a blank. So anyway, I was involved with that, and that concludes my report. All right. Moving on to item 12, request for status reports and items for subsequent agendas. Anybody have any item you'd like to discuss? Item 13, items from the public. No more public, or no public signed in. Thanks, Mark. No need for executive closed sessions. So with that, this meeting is adjourned until the 17th of August.